Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. Today's video is going to be a trip report about a recent fast, fun, and honestly a little bit exhausting adventure I had recently going from Los Angeles down to the lakes region of southern Chile. Beautiful area if you've never been there. The whole cost wound up being about $555, and that was for everything. The flights, the hostel, food and drinks. I took a day trip to another town nearby, the whole deal. So if you're interested to find out more about it, let's get into it. Alright, first up, the red eye to Santiago. As an airline employee, I flew standby on Latam Airlines. The flight was completely full, but I lucked out at the end and got a window seat for the 10-hour journey, so I got a little bit of sleep. After landing in Santiago, I had a 3-hour layover, which is plenty of time. You have to clear customs. I grabbed some Chilean pesos from an ATM. More about that later, and made my way to the domestic terminal for the flight to Puerto Montt. Puerto Montt is like the main hub in that region of the Lakes District. So getting back to the money, if you're withdrawing cash in Chile, the ATM fees are high, and they don't seem to be a percentage. They're a set rate no matter how much you take out. And at the airport, all the ATMs were from one bank, and the fee was about $9 per transaction. So it's pretty steep. Honestly, you could probably get by with not that much cash. I just do it for peace of mind. But most places take credit cards. So if I had it to do over again, my advice would be just exchange like $20 or $30 once you get to the destination. There's little storefronts that'll exchange a little bit of cash. Yeah, they're going to ding you also, but it's probably a better deal than taking money out of an ATM. So the next leg was a 90-minute flight to Puerto Montt from Santiago. Also a full flight. I had a fancy middle seat, but no big deal. It was fine. Just an hour and a half flight. Okay, landed in Puerto Montt. Domestic airport, no big deal. Everything was easy peasy. It's a pretty small airport. So after I arrived, I needed to get to Puerto Varas, which was my home base for the trip. I decided to stay in Puerto Varas because it's a little bit smaller and more touristy, but it's right on the lake, so I chose that as my base for the 2 nights. I did some research to try to figure out how to get from Puerto Montt Airport to Puerto Varas. I really came up empty-handed, but the people at the hostel let me know that there's a shuttle service called Imperio, Transportes Imperio. It's right as you exit the arrivals area. On the right-hand side, there's a little counter, and you can buy a ticket. It's super easy. It's super cheap. For 5,000 Chilean pesos, they'll take you to the town square. That's a little over $5. Or for 3,000 pesos more, they'll drop you off right at your hotel. So it's like a 25, 30-minute ride. I really recommend the Imperio transport. So that worked out great. I was at the hostel before 2 o'clock the next day. The name of the hostel was MaPatagonia Hostel. Nice place. It's in 2 historic houses in Puerto Varas. There's a lot of houses left over from when the German immigrants were there. Very historic and a lot of character. So MaPatagonia operates out of 2 of these. The one that you see on their website wasn't the one I stayed in. I think that's mainly their offices and stuff now, although I think some people do stay in that house. The house where I stayed was the next block over, short distance away. It was also a historic landmark. It probably had maybe 10 rooms, I'm guessing. The price was totally reasonable, around $35 a night, and that gets you a private room, but you have to share a bathroom. I don't even know if they have any rooms with their own bathroom, but if you need to go even cheaper, you can stay in one of the dorm rooms, and I'm sure that would be less. But for $35, hey, you can't beat it. I would give it a recommendation. While I was there, I counted at least 4 bathrooms with a shower, so you have plenty of choices. They have 2 kitchens, actually. One is a vegan kitchen, and then the other's a normal kitchen. If the weather's nice, they have a lovely backyard with a hammock. There's 2 cats that walk around checking out the guests. So it's a really nice vibe. One thing I want to say about Puerto Varas, everything's on a hill. Unless you're staying right by the water in the center of town, you're going to be getting your steps in. You're going to be working on your cardio because the whole place is on a hill. It's beautiful, but I just want people to know that. Okay, let's move on to exploring Puerto Varas, what you can see and do while you're there. So Puerto Varas is one of the gateways to this area of Chile, this lakes region. It's very beautiful, and from Puerto Varas, or probably Puerto Montt too, you can do some nice day trips. There's a couple volcanoes there. The biggest one is called Osorno Volcano. It's easy to find a group doing a day trip to the volcano. There's also waterfalls. Petroway waterfall is a nice day trip. I did a trip to the next town over, also German influence, super cute little town called Frutillar. That was easy to do. And it's also nice just to walk around Puerto Varas. It's very scenic, especially if the weather's good. When I got there, it was pouring rain, so you can't judge everything by that. But by the next day, it had started to clear up. Beautiful views of the volcano from the lake. Really nice. It's nice just to walk along the lake. There's a little paved path, and I think there's fishing. You could take a boat ride out. It's really a cute little town. So if you're walking around the town, I would suggest head up to the area of the train station. It looks a little run down. From the outside of the train station, there's a lot of graffiti. You might even think, oh, it's probably not even open. But actually, they're getting ready to start running trains there again. And there's a nice restaurant inside. It's called La Chalota. Very nice restaurant, good food, reasonable. So if you're in that area, I would suggest stop by La Chalota. On the other side of the tracks, also in that train station area, there's a farmer's market on Saturdays, and that was a great experience. It's really locals only. It's small. It's in like what used to be one of the little warehouses that the railroad used, but they had live music, they had local fruits and vegetables, they had artisanal baked goods, good coffee, and just a nice chance to interact with some of the local people. Really highly recommend that if you're there on a Saturday. So if you haven't gotten enough walking around and going up and down hills, there's some nice hikes within walking distance of the city center. One of the main parks happened to be closed for renovation, but it looked like it's going to reopen soon. It's Parque Cerro Felipe. Parque Felipe, it looked really nice. I guess they have a lot of walking paths there. It's over in the vicinity of the train station. But check and see if it has reopened, because like I said, while I was there, it was still closed. So as an alternative, very close to the hostel, there's also a nice little hike, a nice lookout if it's a clear day. Monte Calvario. It's at the very end of a street called Dr. Otto Bader, B-A-D-E-R. Dr. Otto Bader Street goes right into the little park. I think it's run by a church. There's a lot of religious, statues and crosses and things up there, but it's a beautiful hike, and there's a viewpoint where you can look out over the town, look out over the lake, see the volcano. Really recommend it, and it's very close to the hostel, especially because the other park was closed. So moving on to food and drinks. Puerto Varas is famous for its seafood, but as a vegetarian, I had to skip the fish and explore other options. So here are a couple ideas for you. Mesa Tropera is right on the water, great views. It has pizza and craft beer. A lot of locals go there too. It's a really nice place, Mesa Tropera. There's a famous ice cream place in the center of town called Helados Pudu. I think a pudu is an indigenous deer that's in that area. But Helados Pudu, tiny little ice cream shop, delicious ice cream. So check that out. And if you're on a budget and looking to save money, there are a lot of grocery stores in town. You can just grab some food and cook at the hostel, and that'll save you some money. And if you have any kind of eating restrictions, vegetarian, gluten-free, all that, you can make sure you know what you're getting in your food. So let me explain a little bit about the day trip to Frutillar. I really recommend it. It's a cute little town. There's a lot of little shops that sell handmade goods. There's a museum there about the German immigrants that came to this part of Chile in the 1850s. And there's a very scenic view of the volcano and the lake, and a cool little theater that sits right on the water. So I recommend it as a day trip. The cost is completely reasonable, 1,800 Chilean pesos each way. That's about $2. So you can't beat it. I made a video with some more details about this particular day trip. I'll put a link in the description. So after 2 days, it was time to head back to Los Angeles. I booked my return ride with Imperio Shuttle again via WhatsApp. Google Translate helped since I don't speak Spanish. And for just 8,000 pesos, a little over $9, I got picked up at my hostel and dropped off at the airport, easy peasy. The first flight to Santiago was a little bit delayed, kind of stressful because I didn't have quite as much time for the connection as I did when I was coming down there. But everything worked out okay. The flight back to LA, I got another one of those fancy middle seats, but that's how standby travel goes some days. So just to recap, left on a Wednesday afternoon, 1 night on the plane on the red eye, 2 nights in Puerto Varas, 1 more night on the plane back. Back in LA by Sunday morning, total cost $555. I'll leave a detailed breakdown pinned in the comments. I appreciate you guys watching. I hope this information was helpful to you. If it was, please like and subscribe. And that's it. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in the next video.